a class about becoming a suicide bomber. A very, very sad picture. One of the kids, I forget the incident, but he was participating in something with Hamas, and he got hurt, but seriously. And then he's a little kid, before he's boasting to be a suicide bomber, and then he's a 12-year-old in pain, screaming, bleeding all over this hospital table. They showed there was another sequence where they're playing scissors rock, the terrorist, Hamas terrorist, with the 12-year-old. And they're playing scissors rock,
Paper.
Paper, thank you. And then when the kid goes out or goes back home, the filmmaker interviews the terrorist and says, I see, you use this kid as a runner and a lookout. Isn't that a little dangerous for a 12-year-old? I mean, he could get killed. And the answer of the terrorist who was just playing with him, oh, we have thousands of kids like that. They're just expendable. We didn't use that last, but that was the implication. In the end of the film, the filmmaker actually gets killed. Nobody knows who killed him, but in the night he gets shot. But they have a sequence, and they show the kids afterwards, after they come through the terrible experience of being in pain, and they've been hanging around with these filmmakers, and they ask them now what they want to be, and they say, filmmakers. That's how sick it is. This is a whole society geared to bringing up its children to kill Jews. Now, why is the left? I've talked to, these are not stupid kids. They're very bright kids, actually. When you talk to, why have they been sucked into this? I'm just puzzling how I got myself in this little corner here, because I don't want to give a whole, I should come to the end of this talk, but I need to tell you how I see it. I grew up in the left. My parents were communists. I was one of the founders of the New Left. So I have a fairly educated insight into what goes on in the mind of a leftist and how it can link them to the Palestinians. This Palestinian cause. There is no right in the Palestinian cause. The Palestinian cause would be right if it were directed against Hamas and Hezbollah and the PLO and the Arab states. Then you could support it. But it's directed against the Jews, who are the victims of a 60-year war to exterminate them. That's basically what it is. And I should have pointed out that there is this link between the left, because, as I say, the slogan of the PLO was push the Jews into the sea until the KGB stepped in. The KGB ran Arafat, or the KBG, I should put it, the lieutenant colonel, whatever they call themselves, who ran Arafat. His name is Pachepa, and he's written a whole book on this. The KGB said, you're never going to get anywhere by saying push the Jews into the sea. You have to be for self-determination. You have to be the underdog. And so the PLO became the underdog seeking self-determination. Of course, if you understand the historical realities, you can see it's a lie. Because Jordan, as I say, is 60, 70% Palestinian, and it's ruled by someone else. But there's no movement to liberate Jordan. And then you put that together with, they always find something, Clinton and Ehud Barak, gave the store away in 2000. They gave whatever it was, 95%. Now 95% is a hell of a lot of what you're demanding, considering you have been in an aggressive war against the person that, or the country or the nation that's offering you the 95%, which they reject. The left, of course, it appeals to young people because changing the world is such an attractive idea. The world is full of misery. Everywhere you look, if you look, there's misery. Abuses of children, abuses of dogs and cats and horses. Everywhere you look, there's misery. If you could change the world, who wouldn't want to do it? But look at the enterprises to change the world in the 20th century. Nazism was such an enterprise. If we just get rid of the Mongoloids and the Jews and the mixed races, we're going to have heaven here. Communism. If we just get rid of capitalists, we'll create a paradise on earth. What they created was the most oppressive state in the history of the world. The deaths of 120 million people in peacetime. An unimaginable, artificially created poverty. Man-made famines that killed millions of people. That's what progressives produce when they get the power. Because you can only change the world a little piece at a time. And there's a reason that we are where we are and not somewhere else. It's human nature. It's human psychology. You could read all of the Marxist texts in the world that will never, ever encounter in the text or look at what people are actually made of and why it's so difficult to change things. But the fantasy is there. We're going to change the world. It's exactly the same fantasy that Osama bin Laden had. We'll make everybody Muslim and they'll follow Sharia and then the world will be a holy place. So there's a natural affinity that they have. And they have learned to talk very well in the terms of the left. That the social justice. It's a noble idea, but it's an impossible dream. And I say this having spent the first half of my life trying to achieve social justice and seeing the movements that I supported. You know, I was part of the so-called anti-war left in the 60s. We forced America to get out of Vietnam. The Nixon side that we hated said there'll be a massacre if we leave. Oh, we said, no, there won't. And there was. They killed 2.5 million people, the communist state. And there wasn't one leftist protest against them. The hypocrisy over the oppression of women and the oppression of gays. Where's the only place in the Middle East you can have a gay pride parade? Israel. Of course, if Israel has stolen the land and is occupying it, you know, doesn't balance out. But Israel didn't steal the land. I placed an ad in the Daily Tar Heel, which got a reaction, just to make that point, the occupied point. I am not optimistic. I am an optimist by nature, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Attempting to reach people on this campus. And you see how hard it is. There are very few students here. And that's because people, you see the left is very, very good at character assassination. You're seeing it happening with Rush Limbaugh right now. I'm glad we have some leftists here. That's good. You can see it happening with Rush Limbaugh. Bill Maher is a true misogynist, a hateful person, and his comments about women, which I would not repeat here tonight, are, whatever, 1,000 times worse than Limbaugh's. But you won't find a communist like Jane Fonda or an airhead like, well, they're both airheads, Gloria Steinem, or Gloria Allred, who I actually have had at my events, complaining about Bill Maher or any one of a dozen or 1,000 leftists that step over their lines. It's very effective. Very effective. Anyway, you can see I'm a little frustrated about this campus in particular. But I thank you all for coming, and I will take questions.
Much, David. Yeah, we're just going to take questions. A few from each side of the aisle. We have someone walk around with the microphone, so you can start right there.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Horowitz. My question is, what is just as the Islamic hatred of Israel is motivated by the Quranic and Hadithic texts, what is the apology on the left perhaps motivated by the hatred of the Judeo-Christian civilization that we have? Is that part of the reason that they have the apology? Because as we know, that counterculture movement, that was their goal, to shift the work away from that.
Of course, the left is generally hostile to religion, because it's a rival religion. That's what it is. It's about a redemption in this life. But I think, I have to say, I spent many years in the left, and my writing partner, you may know Peter Collier, who wasn't born into the left, but came over, and he would always be saying that leftists are malicious. And I look inside, and I did not see any malice. However, and I didn't go, I don't want to excuse myself for what not at all. But I remember, I never did the chant, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? But that's malicious. So I don't think, I'm not sure the left is very negative. You can tell by their tactics. They shut people down. Conservatives do not come and shout people down. This is the South, so this was a more civilized form of protest. But I don't know. But I don't think the right comes to events like this to march out en masse. It certainly doesn't call its opponents the kinds of names that people like me routinely get called, or misrepresent what they say so as to better to skewer them. Look, the kids, Muslim kids on this campus and on other campuses, a lot of them are very nice kids. And I've talked to them if you don't challenge them, if you don't get into the Middle East and the actual issues, they're completely friendly and very intelligent. And if you get into the Middle East, suddenly it becomes very crazy and anti-Semitic. At least that's my experience, the experiences that I've had in my encounters on college campuses. But this movement, as I say, the MSA on this campus, now the rabbi here, they work with them and they're good kids, but they're not going to test them. To test them is to insult them. They're not going to say, well, look, the Muslim Students Association sponsored nationwide a Hate Israel Week called Israeli Apartheid Week. Totally built on lies. Jews target little children. They have posters showing Jewish helicopters shooting, 6-year-olds. Maps of a non-existent Palestine in 1947 or 48. All of these lies. On these Israeli apartheid walls, they have you know, the way you do saints and heroes. They had Sheikh Yassin, a mass